The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 5, Section 5, Conversation and Dialogues. Disciple. If you say things like that, then we are undone. Swamiji. What fear? Abhira, abhira, bihi. Be fearless, be fearless, be fearless. You have seen a Naga Mahachaya, how even while living the life of householder, he is more than a sannyasin. This is very uncommon. I have rarely seen one like him. If anyone wants to be a householder, let him be like Naga Mahachaya. He shines like a brilliant luminary in the spiritual firmament of East Bengal. Ask the people of the part of the country to visit him often. That will do much good to them. Disciple Naga Mahashaya, it seems, is the living personification of humanity in the play of Sri Ramakrishna's divine drama on earth. Swamiji, decidedly so. Without a shadow of doubt, I have a wish to go and see him once. Will you go with me? I love to see fields flooded over with water in the rain. Will you write to him? Disciple, certainly I will. He is always mad with joy when he hears about you and says that East Bengal will be sanctified into the place of pilgrimage by the dust of your feet. Swamiji, do you know Sri Ramakrishna used to speak of a Naga Mahashaya as a flaming fire. Disciple, yes, so I have heard. At the request of Swamiji, the disciple partook of some prasadam and left for Calcutta late in the evening. He was deeply thinking over the message of fearlessness that he had heard from the lips of inspiring teacher, I am free, I am free. Next, renunciation of a kama kanchana. God's mercy falls on those who struggle for realization. Unconditional mercy and Brahmana are one. Disciple. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Swamiji, that a man cannot progress for far towards religious realization unless he first relinquishes the kama kanchana, that is lust and greed. If so, what will become of their householders? For their whole minds are set on these two things. Swamiji, it is true that the mind can never turn to God until the desire for lust and wealth has gone for it. Be the man of a house, be the man a householder or a sannyasi. Know this for a fact that as long as the mind is caught in this, so long true devotion, firmness, and shraddha can never come. Disciple, where will the householders be then? What way are they to follow? Swamiji, to satisfy our smaller desires and have done with them with forever, and to relinquish the greater ones by discrimination. That is the way. Without renunciation, God can never be realized. Yadi Brahma Swayam Vadeta. Yadi Brahma Swayam Vadeta. Even if Brahma himself enjoyed otherwise. Disciple. But does renunciation of everything comes as soon as one becomes a monk? Swamiji, sannyasin are at last or at least struggling to make themselves ready for renunciation, whereas the householders are in this matter like boatmen who work at their oar while the boat lies at anchor. Is a desire for enjoyment while ever applauses. भूय एवाभिवर्धते. It increases ever and ever. Disciple, why? May not world weariness come after enjoying the objects of the senses over and over for a long time? Swamiji, to how many does that comes? The mind becomes tarnished by constant contact with the objects of the senses and receives a permanent molding and impression from them. Renunciation and renunciation alone is the real secret, the Mula mantra of all realization. Disciple, but there are such injunctions of the sheer in the scriptures as this. Gruheshu pancha indriya nigrahastapa, to restrain the five senses while living with one's wife and children is tapas. Nivritta ragasya gruham tapo vanam tapovanam. For him whose desires are under control, living in the midst of his family is the same as retiring into the forest for tapasya. Swamiji, blessed indeed are those who can renounce Kama Kanchana, living in their homes with their family. But how many can do that? Disciple, but then what about the sannyasin? Are they all able to relinquish lust and love for riches fully? Swamiji, as I said just now, sannyasin are on the path of renunciation. They have taken the field, at least to fight for the goal. But householders, on the other hand, having no knowledge as yet of the danger that comes from lust and greed, do not even attempt to realize the self. That they must struggle to get rid of this is an idea that has not yet entered their mind. Disciple, but many of them are struggling for it. Swamiji, oh yes, and those who are doing so will surely renounce by degrees. Their their inordinate attachment for Kama Kanchana will diminish gradually. But for those who procrastinate, saying, "Oh, not so soon. I shall do it when the time comes." Self realization is very far off. Let me realize the truth this moment, in this very life. These are the words of a hero. Such heroes are ever ready to renounce the very next moment. And to search the scriptures say, Yada harave hareva virajeta tada hareva pra, prabrajeta. The moment you feel disgust for the vanities of the world, leave it all and take to the life of a monk. Disciple. But was not Sri Ramakrishna wont to say all these attachments vanish through the grace of God when one prays to him? Swamiji, yes, it is so, no doubt, through his mercy, but one needs to be pure first before one can receive this mercy, pure in thoughts, words, and deeds. Then it is that his grace descends on one. Disciple, but of what necessity is grace to him who can control himself in thought, word, and deed? For then he would be able to develop himself in the path of spirituality by means of his own exertion. Swamiji, the Lord is very merciful to him, whom he sees struggling heart and soul for realization, but remain idle without any struggle, and you will see that his grace will never come. Disciple, everyone longs to be good, yet the mind, for some inscrutable reasons, turns to evil. Does not everyone wish to be good, to be perfect, to realize God? Swamiji, know them to be already struggling who desire this. God bestows His mercy when this struggle is maintained. Disciple, in the history of reincarnation, in the history of incarnation, we find many persons who, we should say, have led very dissipated dissipated lives, and yet very able to realize God without much trouble and without performing any sadhana or devotion. How is this accounted for? Swamiji, yes, but the great restlessness must already have come upon them. Long enjoyment of objects of the senses must already have created in them deep disgust. Want of peace must have been consuming their very heart. So deeply they had already felt this void in their heart that life, even for a moment, had seemed unbearable to them unless they could gain that peace which follows in the train of the Lord's mercy. So God was kind to them. This development took place in them direct from the tamas to sattva. Disciple, then whatever was the path, they may be said to have realized God truly in that way. Swamiji, yes, why not? But it is not better to enter into the mansion by the main entrance than by its doorway of dishonor. Disciple, no doubt that it is true. Yet the point is established that through mercy alone one can realize God. Swamiji, oh yes, that one can, but few indeed are there who do so. Disciple, it appears to me that those who seek to realize God by restraining their senses and renouncing lust and wealth hold to the free will theory of self exertion and self help, and that those who take the name of the Lord and depend on Him are made free by the Lord Himself of all worldly attachments and led by Him to the supreme stage of realization. Swamiji, true, those are the two different standpoints, the former held by the jnanis and the later by the bhaktas. But the ideal of renunciation is the keynote of both. Disciple, no doubt about that. But Shri Girish Chandra Ghosh once said to me that there could be no condition in God's mercy. There could be no law for it. If there were, then it could no longer be termed mercy. The realm of grace or mercy must transcend all law. Swamiji, but there must be some higher law at work in the sphere alluded to by GC, of which we are ignorant. Those are words indeed for the last stage of development, which alone is beyond time, space, and causation. But when we get there, who will be merciful and to whom? Where there is no law of causation, there the worshipper and the worshipped, the meditator and the object of meditation, the knower and the known, and all become one, and all become one. Call that grace or Brahman, if you will. It is all one uniform homogeneous entity. Disciple, hearing these words from you, Swamiji, I have come to understand the essence of all philosophy and religion, that is Vedas and Vedant. It seems as if I had hitherto been living in the midst of the high sounding words without any meaning. Next, doctrine of doctrine of ahimsa and meat eating. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in men. Food and spirituality. Ahar, three defects in food. Don't touchism and caste prejudice. Restoring the old Chaturvarnas and law of the Rishis. Disciple, praise Swamiji. Do tell me if there is any relation between discrimination of food taken and development of spirituality in men. Swamiji. Yes, there is more or less. Disciple. Is it proper or necessary to take fish and meat? Swamiji. Yeah, take them, my boy. And if there be any harm in doing so, I will take care of that. Look at the masses of our country. What a look of sadness on their faces, and want of courage and enthusiasm in their hearts, with large stomachs and no strength in their hands and feet. A set of cowards frightened at every trifle. Disciple, does the taking of fish and meat give strength? Why do Buddhism and Vaishnavism preach ahimsa paramo dharma? Non-killing is the highest virtues. Swamiji. Buddhism and Vaishnavism are not two different systems or two different things. During the decline of Buddhism in India, Hinduism took for her a few cardinal tenets of conduct and made them her own, and these have now come to be known as Vaishnavism. The Buddhist tenet, non-killing, is spiritual virtue is very good, but in trying of enforce it upon all the legislations without paying any heeds to the capacity of the people at large, Buddhism has brought ruin upon India. I have come across many a religious hero in India who fed ants with sugar and at the same time would not resist or hesitate to bring ruin on his own brother for the sake of filthy lucre's disciple. But in the Vedas, as well as in the law of Manu, there are injunctions to take care of fish and meat. Swamiji, yeah, and injunctions to abstain from killing as well. For the Vedas enjoin मा हिंसा हिंस्यात् मा हिंस्यात् sarvabhutani, cause no injury to any being. Manu also says nivritti mahaphala, cessation of desire brings great results. Killing and non-killing have both been enjoined according to the individual capacity or fitness and the adaptability of those who will observe the one part practice or other. Disciple, it is disciple, it is the fashion here nowadays to give up fish and meat as soon as one takes to religion, and to make it is more sinful not to do so than to commit such great sins as adultery. How do you think such notion came into existence? Meaning religious hypocrite. The heroine, so the story goes, gave it out to the fishes that he had forsaken his old habit of catching fish and turning highly religious. So he took his stand on the brink of the water and feigned to be meditating, while in reality he was always watching his opportunity to catch the unwary fish. Swamiji, what the use of your knowing how they came? When you see clearly, do you not that such notion are working ruin to our country and our society? Just see the people of the East Bengal eat much fish, meat, and turtle, and they are much healthier than those of this part of the Bengal. Even the rich man of the East Bengal has not yet taken to lochis or chapatis at night, and they do not suffer from acidity and dyspepsia like us. I have heard that in the village of the East Bengal, the people have not the slightest idea of what dyspepsia means. Disciple, quite so, Swamiji. We never complain of dyspepsia in our part of the country. I first heard of it after coming to this part. We take fish with rice morning and evening. Swamiji, yes, take as much of that as you can without fearing criticism. The country has been flooded by dyspeptic babajis living on vegetables only. That is no sign of sattva, but the deep tamas, the shadow of the death. Brightness is in the face, undaunted enthusiasm in the heart, and tremendous activity. This results from sattva, whereas idleness, lethargy, inordinate attachment, and sleep are the sign of tamas. Disciple, but do not fish and meat increase rajas in man, Swamiji? That is what I want you to have. Rajas is badly needed just now. More than 90% of those whom you now take to be men with the sattva qualities are only stepped in the deepest tamas. If you find one-sixth of them to be really sattvic. What we want now is an weakening or immense awakening of Rajasic energy, for the whole country is wrapped in the shroud of tamas. The people of this land must be fed and clothed, must be awakened, must be made more fully active. Otherwise, they will become inert Has inert, has trees and stones. So I say, eat large quantity of fish and meat, my boy. Disciples. Does a linking or does a liking for fish and meat remain when one has fully developed the sattva qualities, Swamiji? No, it does not. All liking for fish and meat disappears when pure sattva is highly developed, and these are the sign of its manifestation in the soul. Sacrifice of everything for others, perfect non attachment to the lust and wealth, want of pride and egotism, the desire for animal food goes when these things are seen in a man. And where such indications are absent, and yet you find men sided or siding with the non-killing party, know it for a certain that here there is either hypocrisy or a show of religion. When you yourself come to that stage of pure sattva, give up fish and meat by all means, disciple. In the Chandogna Upanishad, there is this passage: आहार शुद्धौ सत्व शुद्धौ शुद्धि. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi. Through the pure food, the sattva quality in the man becomes pure. Swamiji, yes, I know. Shankaracharya has said that the word ahar there means object of the senses, whereas Sri Ramanuj has taken the meaning of ahar to be food. In my opinion, we should take that meaning of the word which reconciles both these points of view. Are we to pass our lives discussing all the time about the purity and impurity of food only, or are we to practice the restraining of our senses? Surely, the restraining of the senses in the main object. And the discrimination of good and bad, pure and impure food only helps one to be or to a certain extent in gaining that end. There are, according to our scriptures, three things which make food impure. First, jati dosh or natural defect of the certain class of food like onion, garlic, etc. Nimitta dosh or defect arising from the presence of external impurities in it, such as dirt, insect, dust, etc., that attach to sweet meat bought from bought from shops. Third, Ashraya dosh or defects that arise from the food coming from evil sources, as when it has been touched and handled by wicked persons. Special care should be taken to avoid the first and second classes of defects. But in this country, men pay no regard just to this two and go on fighting for third alone, the very one that none but the yogi could really discriminate. The country from end to end is being bored to extinction by the cry, don't touch, of all of the non-touchism party. In that exclusive circle of there too, there is no discrimination of good and bad men, for their food may be taken from the hands of anyone who wears a thread round his neck and call himself a Brahmin. Sri Ramakrishna was quite unable to take food in his indiscriminate way from the hands of any and all. It happened many a time that he could not accept food touched by a certain person or persons, and no rigorous investigation it would turn out that this had some particular stain to hide. Your religion seems nowadays to be confined to the cooking pot alone. You put on one side of sublime truth of religion and fight, as they say, for the skin of the fruit and not for the fruit itself. Disciple, do you mean then that we should eat the food handed or handled by anyone and everyone? Swamiji, why so? Look here. You being a Brahmin of a certain class, say of the Bhattacharya class, why should you not eat rice cooked by a Brahmin of all classes? Why should you, who belong to the Rar- Rarhi section, object to taking rice cooked by Brahmin of the Barendra section? Or why should a Barendra object to taking your rice again? Your rice. Again, why should not the other subcaste in the west and the south of India, for example, the Marathi, Telangan, Kanauji, do the same? Do you not see the hundreds of Brahmin and Kayasthas in Bengal now go secretly to eat deities in public restaurant, and when they come out of those places pose as leader of society and frame rules to support don't touchism? Must our society really be guided by the laws that dictated by such hypocrites? No, I say. On the contrary, we must turn them out. The law laid down by the certain rishis of old must be brought back, and he may be made to rule supreme once more. Then alone can nationally well-being be ours. Disciple, then do not the laws laid down by the rishis rule and guide our present society? Swamiji, vain delusion. Where indeed is that the case nowadays? Now, nowhere have I found the laws of rishis current in India. Even when during my travels I searched carefully and thoroughly. The blind and not often meaningless customs sanctioned by the people, local prejudices and ideas, the usage and the ceremonial prevalent among us human are what the blind and not often meaningless customs sanctioned by the people, local prejudices and ideas, and the usages and ceremonial prevalent among us human are what really governs the society everywhere. How many care to read the Shastras or to lead society according to their ordinances after careful study? Disciple, what are we to do then? Swamiji, we must revive the old laws of the rishis. We must initiate the whole people into the course of our old Manu and Yajnavalkala with a few modifications here and there to adjust them to the changed circumstances of the time. Do you not see that now nowhere in India? Do you not see that nowhere in India now are the original forecast Chaturvarnas to be found? We have to re-divide the whole Hindu population, grouping it under the four main castes Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra as of old. The numberless modern subdivisions of the Brahmin that splits them up into so many castes as it were have to be abolished and a single Brahmin caste to be made by uniting them all. Each of the three remaining castes also will have to be brought similarly into the single groups as was the class or as was the case in Vedic time. Without this, will the motherland be really benefited by your simply crying as you do nowadays? We won't touch you. We won't take him back into our caste. Never, my boy. Never, my boy.